Today, just a day before the New Hampshire primary, the New Hampshire Attorney General's office announced that it is investigating what it says appears to be an unlawful attempt at voter suppression. Yesterday, several New Hampshire residents got a robocall purporting to be from President Biden. It wasn't. The White House has confirmed that the call was a fake. But if you had received it, would you be able to tell?
What a bunch of malarkey. We know the value of voting Democratic when our votes count. It's important that you save your vote for the November election. We'll need your help in electing Democrats up and down the ticket. Voting this Tuesday only enables the Republicans in their quest to elect Donald Trump again. Your vote makes a difference in November, not this Tuesday.
Malarkey sounds a lot like Joe Biden. Take it from me. And that was right at the beginning of that call. Now, we have no idea who's behind these fake robocalls, although their likely intention, misleading voters and hurting President Biden, seems pretty clear. We do not yet know for sure how this artificial version of President Biden's voice was made, although disinformation experts tell NBC News that it was almost certainly created with some form of artificial intelligence. What we do know is that fake content like this is getting more realistic and easier to make all the time. It's improving the technology of it. A little over a week ago, the news outlet Mediaite published audio they claim shows longtime Trump advisor Roger Stone calling for the assassination of Democratic Congressman Jerry Nadler and Eric Swalwell. Now, I should say that NBC News has not been able to independently verify this audio, but it does really sound like Roger Stone. But Stone claims the audio is fake. And because of how easy it is to make realistic-seeming fake content like this now, it's very difficult to figure out what the truth is here, and people can use that to their advantage on both sides. With today's news about these fake Biden robocalls in New Hampshire, we're seeing how fake content like this could mess with our primaries, could mess with the general election. But how much more difficult could it get to tell fact from fiction by November? Joining me now is Chris Krebs, former director of Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and co-chair of the Aspen Institute's U.S. Cybersecurity Working Group. Thank you so much for joining me. I couldn't think of anyone better to talk to about this and help explain it. So let me start with the basics here. I mean, how sophisticated would you have to be with computers to make fake audio like that one we just played of Biden, of those Biden robocalls we're seeing and hearing here in New Hampshire?
Unfortunately, not particularly sophisticated at all. In fact, it doesn't require much more than some of the publicly open source large language models that can be used to create text to voice and even text to video. And you really don't need much of a sample of whoever you're trying to mimic. You can get a voice print off of about 30 seconds worth of tape. And obviously with President Biden, there's much more than that. There's more than that of you and me. So it is not a complicated tradecraft right now, unfortunately.
Anyone can make one, which is the thing that one of the things that feels so alarming to me. Now, one of the things as we look back to 2016, which we've been talking about a little bit in this show, is just what the threats are and what we're talking about, what we should be talking about. So are there nation states like China, Russia, those who have kind of intervened in our elections in the past? Is this a tactic and a tool that you think they're developing, that we should be watching more closely, talking more about?
There's no question that they're testing and exploring the range of capabilities. In the conversations I have with those in the national security community, they're absolutely concerned about state actors rolling AI into their broader information activities, and whether that's technical hacking, cyber security threats, or the broader information warfare that we're seeing increasingly a part of not just our elections, but I would suspect over the several elections that are happening in 24 and then 25 as well, you'll see more and more of these AI-enabled threat vectors emerge.
There are obviously a number of experts like yourself in the federal government. I have a kind of a two-parter here. What would you like to see them doing? But also, do you have any concern about maybe the lack of understanding or knowledge broadly within Congress about the threat of this? We saw this with social media, for example, back in 2016.
Yep. Well, there are a number of different pieces of legislation that have been introduced, particularly in the Senate, to address AI as it may impact our elections. In fact, there's a bill introduced by Senators Klobuchar, Hawley, Coons, and Collins that would address this specific risk of mimicking a political candidate that would give them a couple different options, including removal of the content as well as damages. Of course, that is just a piece of legislation introduced, and it will take quite some time to get that in place. There's also the Federal Communications Commission has a couple of different mechanisms they can use, particularly if it's seen as defrauding voters, and as well the FBI has several different paths they can follow. But I think the real key here is similar to a number of the messages that we pushed out in the 2020 election, and that is, if you ever have a question about information here, go to the trusted source. Don't listen to someone on Twitter, X, whatever, or a phone call you get. Go to the source, the election official or the candidate themselves, and verify the information that you've heard or read or whatever.
On the flip side of the fake, that's very good advice, and I think a lot of people are looking for exactly that. On the flip side, though, of the fake content problem is this problem of plausible deniability. For example, there was this audio media release. I just mentioned this a little bit at the top, purportedly of Roger Stone and Stone's denial blaming AI. It's kind of a back and forth. It gives people deniability of things that are true. I mean, how do we grapple with that?
Well, Bobby Chesney, the dean of the University of Texas Law School, and another colleague coined the term the liar's dividend, and that's when there is this diffuse information environment where you can't really tell what's true. This is where the bad actors really thrive, and I think, unfortunately, we are well into that space where the information environment has really lost that touchstone of truth, and it is hard to believe what you read or hear. And when you add AI, and you can say, you know what, that sounds like me, but it's not me. Somebody must have copied it. This goes to, I think it's important for candidates and campaigns right now to do whatever they can to really print and certify the video they use, the audio they use, so that it can't be mimicked, or if it is, they can point back and say, no, this is what I said, that's not what I said. In the President Biden's executive order on artificial intelligence really does go to that watermarking and the mechanisms that folks can use to take ownership of their own likeness and what they may say or do or appear as.
Chris Krebs, thank you so much. It's such an important topic. I think we should be talking a lot about between now and November, and these robocalls were just a reminder.